I'm Caroline, and I'd like to dedicate tonight to a very new special friend who's making a lot of strides, and he's kind of a little YouTube shy. But anyway, good luck to him, and he's doing great. So like I say, I'm dedicating this to a wonderful person. Okay, so as we get started, okay, all right, so now for the last year or so, we've been dealing with a very, very bad virus, and that's been going on for more than a year. But domestic violence has been going on for many, many years. And we've quickly come up with a vaccine, but we still haven't come up with a vaccine for domestic violence. So we need to take it upon ourselves, participants, to try to understand it, try to work along with it, okay? And just do some assisting and helping people. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about what it is. Domestic violence could be physical, verbal, coercion. They could use monetary tactics on women for domestic violence. So this is like a whole array of things. Okay, so then also our statistics, they're very surprising because 1 in every 4 women will be beaten sometime in her life, and 1 in every 10 men, a man will be beaten sometime in his life. Men and women together both suffer from domestic violence. And sadly, in this country here, just alone here in the United States, every day we lose 3 women at the hands of their abuser, which could be the husband, the boyfriend, just a partner, however. So, those statistics are kind of sad. And we just, and it's just like, not just like, for women who are on low economic scale, it's in all cultures. Domestic violence has its tentacles in all forms of life, whether you're rich, poor, whatever culture, whatever nationality you have, it's all over, okay? And so for a lot of women, for some women, it's easier to leave. Maybe they have a mother or a sister or a relative where they could go to. But unfortunately, for a lot of women, there really isn't a place to escape to. So that's even more why we have to keep doing our advocacy. Well, we have to keep making a safe environment for women so that, when they need to get away, or even if they just want to reach out for help, we never, tell anyone, well, you gotta leave. Some of them don't want to leave. They may want to try to salvage that relationship. And if that could be done, that's fine too. So we just need to keep, advocating for it, and keep bringing our awareness to it. Okay, so now one other thing I wanted to mention was, when we think of domestic violence, most of the times we think of a woman just, being beaten by her husband or boyfriend. But that's not always the case. It comes in all forms and all walks of life, and men suffer it too. And what I'd like to do is, I'm trying to think of new ideas have been coming to my mind. And I want to try to sort of help men too, with this here, not just men who are being abused. Let's talk about the abuser themselves, okay? I think that we need to sort of bring in programs and kind of help men who are abusers too. We need to love the abuser and try to understand his world, or, okay, let him be accountable for what's happening. And just sort of talk with them and say what can we do to help you? I mean, we know that there's programs, we know that there's different things for them, but we need to really touch into them and let them know that we really want to understand why this is happening, and what can we do to help you? Let us try to understand. And we know that a lot of abuse comes from a person's childhood. They've usually witnessed the abuse inside their home as a child. they could have seen an aunt or an uncle or anywhere they could have witnessed it. So that's another thing we'd like to work on too. We'd like to like sort of help the abusers heal, and or even let's say make preventative, like if we can sort of get young boys before whatever's going on, and just try to intervene if we can. It's not always possible because a lot of the kids come to school, we don't know what's going on in their life. But I'd like to just say a little something. Yesterday morning on my way home, I went to go pick up something for my son, and I stopped into a CVS, and there's a Hispanic, young Hispanic fella, I would say about 14, comes into the CVS, and he looks really agitated, and he's kind of like, shoving things around the store, and he grabs a Slurpee cup, and he goes to the counter, and he's beginning to tell the man behind the counter, well, I don't have enough for this whole Slurpee. Can you sell me just a half a Slurpee? And again, he's very agitated. So I'm saying, okay, look, we don't know what's going on with this child. What's happening in his house? Maybe he's agitated because he's really just a punk, or maybe he's agitated because he's just, like I said, we don't know what goes on in a lot of these kids' lives, what goes on behind closed doors. So I walk to the counter and I tell the guy at the counter, okay, just give him what he wants, the Slurpee, and I'll pay for it. Put it on my bill. So he goes over, he gets the Slurpee that he wants, and he checks in with the counter, and I'm saying, okay, and he's beginning to walk out, and he comes over to me, and now his whole demeanor has changed. He's no longer agitated. He's not kicking things and pushing things, and he's telling me, thank you, miss, for the drink, that he appreciated it. And now I'm seeing such a different person. So, what was the $3 to buy him the drink? For me, if that made that young fella happy, then that $3, whatever I was going to use it for that day, it was worth it to use it on him. And he just began to tell me that his bicycle broke down, and he was, again, like I assumed, he was having a really bad day. So when I try to bring that connection to you, it's sort of like, okay, a lot of these young kids are walking around. Again, we don't know what's going on inside the house. So we need to try to get some kind of program or something to understand them. I guess, okay, so from at home, maybe nothing is going to change there. Maybe whatever is going on, that nothing, is at the spur of the moment, nothing is going to change there. But if we could kind of talk to him, or even get him to talk, or even, devise something at the school where he could go and talk to someone who's soft and gentle, and would just, just speak with him. Because I said, in the beginning, I just said to him, I can sense that you're having a bad day. So allow me to pay for your Slurpee. So you'll see that not everything in this world is bad. So it just kind of proved to me that the tactic of just showing a little love here and there, if you have it. If I happen to have the $3 extra, if you don't have it, well, you might just say something like, I see you're having a bad day. Would you like to talk? Is this something I could do to, help you and improve your mood for today? So I think that's one of the kind of things I'd like to focus on. Not just working, with women, because we know we've been doing that for a while, and we're making good strides with that. But I also want to focus on the abuser themselves. What can we learn about that? What can we do to sort of help and maybe enhance their lives, or just let them see that the world is not, whatever's going on with them at home, however bad they feel, there is some kindness in the world. So like I said, it's just a thought that I've been having, and just just trying to keep whatever tactics we could find, because we work along, we always try to figure out what tactics work and what doesn't work. But anyway, so also, and I think, okay, just the fact that sometimes that we're there and we're there to listen is quite helpful as well. And again, just, continuing to do the advocacy work, speaking out, and I know we'll be working in Manhattan doing some kind of an outdoor seminar for the 7th precinct. We're planning on doing that, and that's going to help reach out to passerbys, to people, and again, I think the more we bring awareness to this situation, because domestic violence is a public health situation, whether we see it that way or not. A sickness we see right on your body, a fever we see, but behind closed doors, unless we see bruises from time to time, we have no idea what's going on for a person. And so I also say, one of the things I say is that if helping one woman, saving one woman from domestic violence, that's not going to change the world. But for that one woman, her world is going to change forever. So that's one of the things that I talk about, and I use that phrase all the time. That's because we all have our busy lives, our busy schedules, our children, especially with COVID. I mean, our whole lives were disrupted with COVID. But if we just all take just a little bit of time, maybe to just focus in, and if we do one thing, or we just try to keep an eye on our children and the domestic violence situation, we could make a difference at that, at that point.
I would just like to make a comment. Which might lead into a question, but one thing, Caroline, first of all, I just want to say that brought tears to my eyes, hearing your story, because it is such evidence that shows, again, we don't know what is happening with people. And we are we all of us tend to be so quick to make judgments about, oh, why is she walking so slowly? Why is she dressed like that? Why is she not, why is she not taking care of her kids? And we don't know what kind of a situation someone is in. Mm-hmm. And just the fact that you did that, Caroline, with him, that it wasn't just showing him the compassion, but I firmly believe in positive actions. And I think that just that one small little action that you did may very well be the little tiny thing that steers that boy in a different direction from the way he was heading. And maybe he's going to shift his perspective enough so that he starts associating with different people, or he starts reaching out to people who can help him or change his situation, whatever it is. And just doing something like that, it's like that may have prevented, 2 or 3 women from being abused. Just that one simple thing. Right. It's like we, I feel like what we need to be aware of is that, like you said, even though maybe this one small action will not change the world, but it will change one person's world. And
correct.
Definitely I feel like that can have an impact, because I still remember things when I was a child, these little tiny things that somebody did for me. Maybe they took the time to buy me the kind of gum that I wanted, or maybe they took the time to give me that dessert, and when they didn't have to do it. And I remember that, and it did something for me. So I really feel like, it's wonderful for all of us to be aware of how those acts of kindness are not just acts of kindness, or compassion. They are actually proactive. They are that one tiny little step that can shift the trajectory of someone's life from being in,
Right.
this one person to shifting it and saying, you know what? That lady that I didn't even know did that for me when I was having a bad day. So now I'm going to do something for somebody else. And maybe that will lead to more acts and more service. I mean,
Right. Right.
yeah, we don't
Well,
know.
yeah. Well, sadly, it's really not enough. I mean, if let's say if he's like if this is like he's having a lot of trouble and drama in his house day after day, that little act may not be enough to sustain him,
Right.
to
Yeah.
give him like a healthy nurturing sense. But uh, but that's what I mean. That's when I say like we just need to like reach out, and we need to be able to get more programs when we can reach out. Because again, sometimes we can't change what's going on in the house. Whatever, which I suspect that he must be having something, or like he just seemed like disarrayed. And but like I said, what got me and what sort of assured me was that as soon as like I showed him a little bit of care and bought that Slurpee for him, his whole demeanor changed. He was no longer kicking the,
Yes.
he was like when he first walked in, he was, shoving the cups, and all of a sudden there's this bright smile on his face. And,
Yes. Yeah.
but it's so hard for us to try to, to connect with them. We don't know where they are, where these
Right.
kids are. And so
Yes.
like, and I was at one speaking event, I was speaking to a young boy. Well, this little boy must have been about maybe 10 or 11. I was another little boy with him too. And I just spoke a little bit to them. And they were like, no one's ever spoken to me like that. No one's ever told me anything like this before. No one's ever sort of like, what they were saying was that no one's ever addressed their feelings, or, no one's ever told them anything, that, that there's help out there, that there's a different array of, a way of living.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, but we have to keep working. That's can't get discouraged. Some days are very discouraging. I look around me, I look at all the pictures on my walls of the things and the achievements. And then you just say like, wow, with all the help that's needed out there, what is this? Just a little thing? But we can't give up. We need to just keep doing that little thing, and keep, just reaching out to as many people as we can. And, like I said, because, I can understand, I went through the domestic violence, and I felt very alone at times. I would hide my bruises. I couldn't understand why this was happening to me. I was okay. I tried to, like I just try to keep the family happy, take care of the babies, keep the house clean, put dinner on the table. But it was always like, no matter what I did, there was some kind of a problem. If I cooked the roast beef 3 minutes more than what the way the roast beef, we wanted the roast beef, that caused a problem, breaking things in the house. And you're always like walking on pins and needles when you're living in that environment with domestic violence, and you feel alone. Sometimes you don't even want to reach out. I remember I was so embarrassed to even reach out and tell someone what was going on. So we need to empower women too, and make them understand, or let them to understand, it's okay. You'll be okay. You don't need to take this abuse. If you still love your partner, that's fine, but you need to separate it, and, just at least get help and see, if you can salvage your relationship, fine. If not, then you don't need to live that way and be punished, you're punished all the time when you're just trying to live your life and just be a good person, and you just want whatever good you give, you want that returned back to you.
Thank you for sharing your stories, and yeah, I agree with a lot of thing sentiment that you have. Like let's take care of boys and men. Also, and you feel
Right,
isolated. You don't want to reach out because of embarrassment, or you just imagine what your friend might say. Like they might say, "Oh, just leave him," or just like can you try to be nicer to him? Maybe that will help. Like I think
right,
they're well-meaning.
right,
I don't fault them, but
right.
it's like so not wanted, right? So like
Well,
you get
yeah,
trained to reach out to them because they are like they are squirmish too. Like they don't know what to advise, so they get like uptight, and then they'll say, maybe you should be nicer, and yeah, I don't want to see that, facial expression particularly. Yeah, I feel bad for them actually. So I'm like, okay, never mind. I don't need this. You don't need this. So let's not talk about it. So,
right, right,
yeah, so
right,
it's a lot of
right,
nuances. But like you said, I think history is changing towards more awareness for domestic violence. In 1960s and stuff, there was no law about the domestic violence. There's no category for that kind of
right, right,
the
right,
women's shelter. Like a lot of things were not categorically existent back then. Then now men have a mandatory, treatment program if they committed, like a violation of the order of protection. So, and then these days debated about a lot of things like gender issues and, human rights, very
mhm,
like a racial, divide.
right,
A lot of
right,
things are very, very uh,
right, right.
like hyper aware, that kind of thing. So I
Yeah,
think we have some, good trend to make the domestic
right,
violence awareness, more to the front, and then we can do something about it. It's
right,
still hard, but
right,
yeah,
right,
yeah. I think
right.
people
Even the
have
rape crisis,
mm,
even the rape crisis.
right.
Okay,
Yeah,
we need to stay on board with that.
yeah,
There's just a lot of advocacy that we need to do.
yeah.
So many things. One of the projects that I am working on at the moment with the VOW organization, that's the Voices of Women, we're working on like false and malicious reporting. Like sometimes, okay, so with ACS, that's the Bureau of Child Welfare for Children. And sometimes like people will just call in and just because they know that the child is not being abused, but they're just doing it to get back at the person. Like it could be an ex-husband or a mother-in-law or something like that. So but the thing with that, the sad thing with that is that the only one that really suffers in that case is the child, because the worker is still going to get paid whether she's there or in another place. But while she's there handling that false report, there is a child somewhere that really is in need of help. So I had like a little experience with that years ago. Um, my ex had called and the woman came and she found that nothing was wrong. And I remember as she was leaving, one of the things she said was, well, there's children out there that really need me today, and I'm just here. Your children are fine. I mean, they're all up to date, with shots and stuff. So we've been working on that. We've been working with the legislator to try to hold people who make these false reports accountable.
Oh,
In
very
other words,
nice.
especially if you keep repeating it, which that's what's been happening. And we confronted the ACS, and they had said, okay, well now we're beginning to do that. We send these reports, these false reports to the prosecutor. So when we went and tried to find out about that, speak with the prosecutors, it was like the cases were just put to the side. Nothing was done. So then what do we have? We just have, again, these people just doing this over and over, taking away from the children. 60% of the cases that are investigated, they're really just cases of maybe a little bit of neglect. So the actual real cases, let's say the other 30 or 40%, whatever it is, of cases, that those children really need that worker there, and they also may need extra visits. A lot of the workers are so overloaded that they'll just do the visit or the follow-up visit, and they don't even have time to. Then that case may need more individual, more multiple times for the caseworker to visit. So it's like, again, the caseworker is still going to get paid no matter what, what happens there. I mean, they're doing the job, but the child is a child who's really in need. That's the one who's going to suffer the most. So we're trying to, in some states already, there is a punishment for it. It's really not enough. It's basically like just a little slap on the wrist. In fact, when we looked over some of the sheets and some of the, statistic and some of the attributes to the cases, it showed that if you're a mandatory reporter, okay, and you don't report, you get a fine of, let's say, $3,000. But if you make a false complaint, you're only fined $500. You see that's okay. We understand that the mandatory reporter needs to, that's your job. That's what you're supposed to be doing now. When you take a job as a teacher or something, you're supposed to, report anything that you see with these children. But again, the abuser who actually makes the call, I mean, there's such a difference in the punishment and the accountability for it. So we worked with, we have a great legislator we've been working with, and like I said, some of the states it has changed, but we're still trying to get better laws here in the state of New York. So, but like any other thing, any laws that you try to change, of course, it takes time, but we don't give up. We keep working at it.
Very important. Thank you for sharing.